Link TV presents Mosaic World News from the Middle East. Here are today's top stories.
Yemen's Saleh formally steps down after 33-year reign. Syria approves new constitution as main opposition body splits. And tension escalates between Khartoum and Juba over key areas. Mosaic. World news from the Middle East begins now.
Yemen's new president, Abdurrabbu Mansur Hadi, vowed to hand over power to an elected president in 2 years. During the symbolic inauguration ceremony at the presidential palace in Sana'a, Hadi said he hopes to fully implement the terms of the Gulf Initiative. Former President Ali Abdullah Saleh attended the celebration.
These massive demonstrations by the youth of the revolution nearly prevented Yemeni interim president Abdurrabbu Mansur Hadi from leaving his home. They surrounded his car to block him from heading to a celebration called for by Ali Saleh. The protesters called on President Hadi to respect the people's will, meet the demands of the revolution, and not to attend the ceremony called for by deposed President Ali Abdullah Saleh at the presidential palace.
Our first demand is for a decision to release all detainees from the prisons, all of them. This should be done on the level of the Yemeni Republic. We also ask him not to respond to the request of deposed President Ali Abdullah Saleh. This would indicate he relinquished power. We stripped power from deposed President Ali Abdullah Saleh.
We demand the President of the Republic, Brother Abdurrabbu Mansur Hadi, not to take part in the damned celebration held by deposed President Ali Saleh. Because the President's participation in such a damned celebration, which is held by the remnants of the regime, is considered to be a provocation to all the revolutionaries and all the people who voted for His Excellency, President Abdurrabbu Mansur Hadi.
The joint meeting parties bloc refused to attend the celebration, even though the new president's office explained it is to receive congratulations for taking over the position, and is not an inauguration as repeatedly stated in Ali Saleh's media networks. The protesters called to President Hadi not to attend the celebration did not receive an answer, placing him in the face of a new test by the revolutionaries in the upcoming phase. Head of the government Mohammed Salim Basindwa, who represents the joint meeting parties, as well as the ministers affiliated with the JMP, were absent from the celebration out of fear of provoking the youth of the revolution. As for President Hadi, he gave a brief speech at the celebration.
I hope that in 2 years' time, I will stand in the place of Ali Abdullah Saleh, and the new president will stand in my place.
Arab and foreign figures attended the celebration that was broadcast on one of Saleh's satellite TV channels, airing the proceedings from the presidential palace that Saleh will permanently leave today. Ahmed al-Shalafi, Al Jazeera, Sana'a.
Also in Yemen, the provinces of Ad-Dali and Ib witnessed popular marches to celebrate the success of the early presidential elections. The marches called for accelerating the process of restructuring the army on knowledgeable and patriotic bases so that it becomes an army for all of Yemen. They also demanded the dismissal of Saleh's relatives from senior positions in the security and military institutions, in addition to the release of those arrested during the events of the Youth and Popular Revolution. The Syrian Revolution's General Commission reported that 39 people were killed in the Syrian government's forces' shelling of the cities of Homs and Idlib. The commission added that 28 people were injured in the shelling. Meanwhile, a spokesman for the International Committee of the Red Cross announced that its employees managed to enter the city of Hama for the first time in a month and distribute aid to nearly 12,000 people. This comes as the Syrian Interior Ministry announced that over 89% of the voters, constituting more than half of the country's eligible voters, approved the new constitution in a referendum yesterday. The Syrian Interior Ministry said the referendum witnessed a large turnout despite the terrorist acts being carried out by armed terrorist groups and the media's incitement.
Congratulations to Syria for this significant achievement, and congratulations to our loyal people who accomplished this achievement with their patriotic awareness and attention, their understanding of the extent of the conspiracy they are enduring, and their insistence to move forward in the path of comprehensive reform and modernization. Beloved Syria is witnessing both under the leadership of President Bashar al-Assad. Thank you.
Meanwhile, Qatari Prime Minister Hamad bin Jassim Al Thani called on the international community to arm the Syrian opposition. In addition, he called on the Arab countries to take the initiative and provide a safe refuge for dissidents inside Syria.
The Syrian National Council is under major pressure after over 20 of its members announced the formation of a new political action group they called the Syrian Patriotic Group. The new group is headed by Haytham al-Maleh, a lawyer and former judge who resisted the rule of the Assad family since its inception in 1970. The new group issued a statement saying no satisfactory result has been achieved since the National Council was formed, and that the Council has not been able to activate its executive offices or even adopt the demands of the revolutionaries inside Syria.
It is no longer a secret that the greatest predicament for the international communities dealing with the Syrian issue is the division within the Syrian opposition and the substantial differences in their political positions, both related and unrelated to the Damascus regime. The idea to form an opposition national council similar to Libya's did not succeed in uniting Syria's opposition groups. The Syrian National Council was also unable to develop a political mobilization that reflects the pulse of the entire movement inside Syria. Since its establishment in October 2011, the Syrian National Council has been facing a series of partial collapses, tainting its credibility, especially for the Council's Arab and international backers. In addition, the lack of realistic and objective figures on the ground weakened its popular bases and reduced its influence over them. Perhaps French President Nicolas Sarkozy's statements several days ago best describe the difficulties the West is facing in providing means to support the opposition. He confirmed the revolution cannot be imported from the outside, and that the opposition is divided and does not represent all of the Syrian people. And while active fundamental movements within the Syrian opposition distanced themselves from the National Council since the beginning, consecutive splits from the Council had a great impact on the West and the Arab League's reluctance to give the Council absolute power over other opposition groups. There are also essential disputes among the Council's well-known figures, and no understanding with what is known as the Free Syrian Army. However, the most recent split by a number of seculars and Islamists caused a resounding echo due to the figures who led the split. Most notable are human rights activist Haytham al-Maleh and dissident Kamal al-Labwani, in addition to lawyer Catherine al-Tali, opposition operative with links to the Free Syrian Army Fawaz al-Telo, and Walid al-Buni, responsible for the Council's foreign policy. The formation of the Free Syrian Patriotic Action Group was officially announced. It will set up offices in parallel to those of the National Council, such as the Office of Public Relations and Foreign Policy. The sectarian conflict raging for months in Nigeria has taken a new direction with a church bombing by Christians against a rival Christian group. Nigerian police said they arrested 8 Nigerian Christians carrying arms and explosives. The plot comes hours after a suicide bomb attack launched by an Islamist on a different church during Sunday Mass killed at least 2 people and injured 38 others. The Memorandum of Understanding signed between Khartoum and Juba has become a worthless piece of paper amid counter-accusations between the two sides over attempts to disrupt security and stability in the region. North Sudan accused South Sudan of carrying out attacks and incursions into its territories, in a new development described by Khartoum as a step towards war. The new confrontation may impede efforts to revive talks between the two sides over stalled, outstanding issues. Our correspondent Sami al-Shinawi reports from Khartoum.
The papers of the non-aggression agreement signed by North Sudan and South Sudan nearly 2 weeks ago are being blown away by the winds of war looming between the two sides. Southern Sudanese forces launched a direct military attack on the Buhayrat al-Abyad region. The southern forces also carried out an incursion, advancing more than 6 kilometers deep into the northern territories. The attack sparked fierce clashes between the two armies.
A direct attack was launched in Buhayrat al-Abyad region. The attack, which was led by the People's Army, was launched from the southern Sudanese territories.
A list of accusations aimed at disrupting security and stability was directed by the Sudanese army against the government of South Sudan.
We must closely monitor the government of South Sudan, which continues to plot against Sudan. Juba has not disengaged from the People's Army over its ties with the Army's 9th and 10th Battalions in South Kordofan.
The exchange of accusations between the two armies is not new. However, its timing is critical as it coincides with the implementation of the security agreement that calls for an end to the military escalation and a resumption of the talks over stalled issues.
I'm not optimistic. I don't like to be pessimistic. But this is my view of the situation. Unfortunately, I expect more deep divisions to take place in the country.
All options are available amid an atmosphere in which war is more likely to prevail than peace. And between war and peace, the crisis continues in the states of South Kordofan and the Blue Nile, which are being accused of supporting rebel movements. The stalemate between North Sudan and South Sudan shows that peace between the two neighbors remains far-fetched, especially as the rhetoric continues to undermine their newborn relationship. Sami al-Shinawi, Dubai TV, Khartoum.
At least 9 people were killed and 8 others were injured in a car bomb attack targeting the Jalalabad airport in eastern Afghanistan. An official source said the attack took place near a NATO base in the airport, adding that NATO forces sealed off the area after the explosion. The Jalalabad airport is one of NATO's main air bases in Afghanistan. The Taliban movement claimed responsibility for the attack, considering it a response to the burning of copies of the Holy Quran.
The burning of copies of the Holy Quran by American forces at the Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan fueled the fire that has still not been extinguished. After 2 American officers were shot by an Afghan man and 7 American soldiers were killed in a bomb explosion near a U.S. base in Kunduz province, a number of people were killed and injured in a car bomb attack targeting Jalalabad airport in eastern Afghanistan. Afghan officials said the attack took place near a NATO base in the airport, considered one of NATO's main air bases in Afghanistan. Officials confirmed NATO forces sealed off the area after the explosion to prevent additional attacks. Jalalabad's hospital received a number of the wounded, with medical sources confirming some are seriously injured. Immediately after the explosion, The Taliban movement claims responsibility for it, saying it is revenge for burning the Holy Quran. And amid fears of escalating the surging popular anger of the Afghan people and the targeting of American interests in Afghanistan, U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton called for an end to the demonstrations and to work on calming the situation in the country. However, Afghan political figures called for taking up arms against foreign forces, considering it a legitimate duty. They confirmed an apology for this crime is insufficient. Religious scholars also called on Afghan citizens to wage jihad against Americans and foreign troops.
Believe a report published today by WikiLeaks, Israeli commando forces, with the help of Kurdish rebels, have already destroyed all of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. The WikiLeaks information is based on emails stolen from the U.S.-based Stratfor Global Security Analysis Company. The information was contained among some 5 million Stratfor emails, which are considered by some to be a shadow CIA group. The alleged attack in Iran could have taken place in November 2011, when a mysterious explosion near Tehran killed at least 17 members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. Stratfor quotes sources in Jerusalem saying that comments by Israeli leaders about the danger of Iranian denuclearization are a diversion because the Iranian facilities have already been destroyed. Nurses across the country went on a 24-hour warning strike, operating on a Saturday schedule. This after overnight negotiations between the Finance Ministry and the chairman of the National Nurses Union failed to reach an agreement. The chairperson of the National Nurses Union, Ilana Cohen, said that patients are laying in the hospital hallways in inhumane and insulting conditions. She added that it's criminal to accept patients into wards that are way above capacity.
A plot to assassinate Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin has been foiled by Russian and Ukrainian security services. Russian state television reported that one of the suspects, identified as Adam Osmayev, is linked to a Chechen terror cell that planned to kill Putin in Moscow. The alleged attack was due to come immediately after next Sunday's presidential vote, in which Putin is all but certain to reclaim the presidency. 3 suspects were arrested in the Ukrainian Black Sea port city of Odessa following an accidental explosion at a rented apartment. Putin's aides have confirmed the report, but refused to elaborate. Osmayev reportedly told police interrogators that the group was planning to kill Putin with a large explosive device.
In Bahrain, Saudi-backed regime forces have attacked protesters outside the capital, Manama. The protesters were attending a rally in solidarity with a protester who was recently killed by regime forces. Activists say they were attacked by tear gas and sound grenades. Demonstrations in Bahrain began in February 2011. In March, the government in Manama called in Saudi troops to help it brutally crack down on the protests. Since then, scores have been killed and many more arrested. An inquiry into the government's crackdown last year found that police used excessive and unnecessary force against the protesters. In Morocco, protesters are holding rallies in the capital Rabat demanding better living conditions. The demonstrators also called for more reforms, and they've been complaining about a lack of jobs for fresh college graduates. They held placards showing pictures of detained activists. The ralliers want the government to release activists detained since the popular protest movement began in the year 2011. In November, many Moroccans boycotted parliamentary elections. Since then, protests have been ongoing almost every day. Only days ahead of Iran's 9th parliamentary elections, opinion polls are suggesting a high voter turnout. The polls conducted by 3 official institutions indicate that voter turnout is likely to go above 60%. The survey also showed that 10% of eligible voters have not yet made up their minds whether or not to participate in the polls. It revealed that the West's war rhetoric against Iran has been mobilizing eligible voters. Over the past 3 decades, Iranians have been actively participating in legislative polls, serving as a barometer of public support for the Islamic Republic.
Iranians see the economic sanctions and pressures from the US as the main reasons behind the economic problems that exist in the society. This particularly drives them to the polling stations because they believe doing so is the best response to the foreign enemies.
Election posters and banners are up all over the cities and towns with a flurry of activities. Just a few more days until the voting on Friday, the 2nd of March, when more than 47 million voters elect Iran's next parliament. With so many groups campaigning, it's no wonder that the expected result is yet to be clear-cut for the makeup of Iran's next parliament. More than 3,000 candidates are on the campaign trail. It's a strong showing, being hard fought among different groups, including the principalists, the reformists, and the independent candidates. For the candidates, the race is on, but for voters, they say this is Iran, and it's not so easy as just putting up posters and banners or organizing a news conference to judge the economic performance of the government.
People look for those who are not given empty promises and slogans. They are wise and want the truth. The parliament ratifies laws which should be realistic and serve public interests. They should also be implemented on time. That's what people expect from the next parliament.
Candidates should deliver on their promises. They should not just talk and later forget all about it, because we expect more. We elect them to resolve our social and economic problems, especially unemployment among the youth.
The government has already made it clear that it will not support any particular group in the elections. That's why many voters say the combination of these factors has made the upcoming vote a very important one.
Unfortunately, many candidates give some unrealistic promises during campaigns and later don't deliver on them. What people want is honesty, and candidates must prove it.
With 290 seats up for grabs in the next parliament, all the opinion polls point to a turnout of around 60%. This while intense campaigning and debate still lie ahead for a few more days. Raman Aderi, Press TV, Tehran.
Dozens of Hebron residents choked and fainted after inhaling tear gas fired by occupation forces cracking down on 2 peaceful marches in the city of Hebron. The protesters are demanding that Al-Shuhada Street, or Martyrs Street, be reopened. It has been closed since 1994.
Here in the neighborhood of Tel Rumeida, in the center of Hebron, dozens of citizens, joined by foreign solidarity activists, answered the call by the Hebron Land Defense Committee to stand in solidarity against the attacks of occupation forces and settlers on the neighborhood. After performing prayers in Tel Rumeida, protesters marched toward the Al-Shuhada Street, which has been closed since 1994, to demand it be reopened. The occupation forces were not pleased by the scene and quickly used different weapons to disperse the protesters.
We are a delegation from the Abna al-Balad movement. We were invited by the organizers to come here today to mark the anniversary of the Goldstein massacre and the Tel Rumeida battle. We confirm we are an inseparable part of the Palestinian people. From inside 1948, and as part of the Abna al-Balad movement, we are part of the Palestinian people.
There is a great amount of daily stress, abuse, suffering, oppression, and daily arrests that force us to scream loudly, to demand the removal of this cancer from the city.
Today we announced that Hebron is a Palestinian city. We reject the closure policy imposed on the city center, and we will continue our struggle until we reopen Al-Shuhada Street.
Close to Tel Rumeida, another demonstration was organized by the Youth Against Settlements movement. It comes as part of the Third International Campaign to reopen the closed El Shuhada Street under the banner "Pull Through My Country." The march took off from Wasaya Rasul Allah Mosque and headed towards El Shuhada Street to condemn the Israeli measures and demand the reopening of the street. The peaceful march turned into confrontations with the occupation forces, leading to injuries among a number of participants, in addition to many arrests.
These marches to reopen Al Shuhada Street are constantly taking place. But today's demonstrations are particularly significant because today is the anniversary of the Ibrahimi Mosque massacre that was committed by these criminal settlers. This confirms the importance of continuing the struggle to stop the settlement monstrosity and remove it.
We demand to open all the streets and checkpoints in Hebron city. Thousands of residents in Hebron are demonstrating today, telling the Israeli government that the Palestinian people will never surrender until they attain all their legitimate rights.
The popular mobilization coincides with the 18th anniversary of the massacre at the Holy Ibrahimi Mosque. Participants renewed their insistence on reopening the street, which is considered to be Hebron city's artery and connect its north to its south. Hebron's masses took to the streets to demand the reopening of the closed El Shuhada Street and expose the Israeli policy that provides settlers all the facilities at our people's expense.
The views expressed on Mosaic are from contributing broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible by grants from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, the Wincoat Foundation, the Firedoll Foundation, and by support of viewers like you. Thank you. Watch Mosaic World News online. Stay up to date with breaking news, read our blog, get transcripts of past shows, and more at linktv.org/mosaic. Airwaves, a global channel of uncompromising stories, world news, documentaries, entertainment, and culture. Link TV, connecting you to the world. For more information, visit linktv.org.